Hello everyone. In this session of CCNA series, I will discuss data serialization and JSON. For any network engineer that requires to up his network automation skills must understand or learn several data serialization languages. So what is data serialization? It is nothing but a process of converting an object into a stream of bytes to more easily save or transmit it over the network. Serialization converts objects in any programming languages to ones and zeros. These languages gives us a way to represent variables with text rather than in the internal representation used by any programming languages. It makes it possible for API servers to return data so that the same variable names and data structures can be replicated by the API client. So why this data serialization is required? And to see that, let's take an example to see what happens when you move variables between programs on a server and a client without serialization. So a REST client on the left, which hosts a Python application, asks for a resource from the server hosting a Java application. Here resource is nothing but set of variables. So the server needs to reply the requested variable, and which it does with following steps. The first step it does is the REST server takes a copy of the stored variables from the RAM in response to the REST request. The REST API code creates the REST reply and sends the exact replica of the variables available in the server RAM over the network. The REST client receives the reply message and stores the exact same bits and bytes into the RAM. So this is a normal process, but this process will not work as both client and server application are using different programming languages. It's like speaking different language, and the variables are not using same conventions. To overcome this issue, uh, application need a standard method to represent variables for transmission and storage of those variables outside the program. Data serialization is the solution, or data serialization language provides this function. So next, let's see how using data serialization language can solve this problem. So let's take the same example. Here we have serialization. Here the server collects the internally represented data, that is variable, and gives it to the API. The API converts the internal representation to a data model representing these variables. Here we are using JSON for example. The server sends the data model in JSON format via the messages across the network. The REST client receives the data and converts the JSON formatted data into variables in the native format, that is Python format of the client application. At the end, uh, the REST client application now has the equivalent variables to the one it requested from the server in the API call. So you see, with data serialization, for example, here we're using JSON, you will receive the data in your native language, that is programming language. So with that, let's go ahead and see uh, different types of data serialization languages. First we have JSON, then we have XML, and then we have YAML. Starting with JSON, JSON is nothing but JavaScript object notification. It is data interchange format that is easy for human to read and write and easy for machine to parse and generate. JSON is commonly used for RESTful APIs as the data format for exchanging data between client and the server. So these are the important points you need to remember, and you might get some questions related to this on the exam. Then we have XML, which is Extensible Markup Language. XML is markup language that defines a set of rules for encoding documents in format that is both human readable and machine readable. Compared to JSON, it attempts to be human readable but little more challenging to read for the average person. It is commonly used for representing structured data in web services and other applications. Compared to JSON, XML is also used in some RESTful APIs, especially in cases where legacy systems or specific requirement necessitate its use. YML stands for yet another markup language, or YAML ain't markup language. YML is easily the easiest to read for anyone new to data model. It is human readable data serialization format that is often used as an alternative to JSON and XML. It is often used to create configuration files with any programming language. Ansible, one of the configuration management automation tool, makes extensive use of YML files. Let's go ahead and see how to interpret JSON. Interpreting JSON key value pairs is straightforward. JSON data is represented as key value pairs. Each key value pairs represents a single piece of data where the key is a string that identifies the data and value is the actual data that can be strings, number, booleans, arrays, or object. So keys identifies the data, values is the actual data. So let's see, let's interpret JSON key pair values. So key is always a string enclosed in double quotes. If you see, the name, age, car are enclosed in double quotes. It provides a name or identifier for the data that follows. For example, John is a name, 30 is the age, null is the car. Similarly, the value can be one of the several data types, like for example texts. Let's take an example. Okay, on the right, JSON data texts, a sequence of character enclosed in double quotes. Then numeric, a numeric value which can be an integer or a floating point number listed without quotes. Then we have another value type, that is boolean, either true or false. On the right, if you see, if Ronaldo is the best footballer, you can give it a true or a false. Of course, the Messi fans will say it's false, but he is the best player, I feel. Then we have another value type, that is array, uh, which is an ordered collection of values enclosed in square brackets, where each value can be of any data type. For example, the teams which Ronaldo have played, you can place it under array, like Real Madrid, Manchester, Juventus, Al Nassr, which is currently playing. Then another value type is object, a collection of key value pairs enclosed in curly braces where keys are strings and values can be of any data type. So this entire thing is an object. Then also we have multiple pair types. When listing multiple key value pairs, separate the pairs with a comma at the end of each pair except the last pair, that is multiple pairs. So in this example, if you see, name, age, best footballer and teams are keys. And then if you look at the right of the each column to find the matching values, Ronaldo 42 true, and the teams he played for represent these are the values representing a person's name, age, best footballer, and a list of some of the big clubs he played for respectively. So the first two key value pairs end with a comma, meaning that another key value pair should follow. The curly brackets that begin and end the JSON data denote a single JSON object. So let's go ahead and see uh, how the JSON object with two key value pairs will represent. Another example, like here we have one object, two keys, two JSON list values. Here you can see I have uh, Ronaldo teams with four values and Mbappe teams with two values. I have curly brackets to begin and end the text encapsulating one object. So there are two key value pairs inside this object. One is Ronaldo teams, another is Mbappe teams. Similarly, you can also represent this in another format, a simpler format. Then you can also nest objects and arrays. That is, JSON, you can put one object or array inside another. If you see here, I have one object for the entire set that begins and ends with curly braces. The outer object has two keys, my favorites and interface configuration. So the value of each key value pair is another object with each with curly braces and three key value pairs. If you take the example of interface config, it includes IP address, subnet mask, and the speed of the interface. That's it for this session. I hope this was informative for you. Thank you for watching. If you have any queries, please do approach me. I'll be happy to